Hello friends and welcome to my channel. I am Karina and today I am going to be showing you how I made these bad boys. The subject of these sketchbooks is going to be 100 challenges, as in drawing 100 of something. So I'm going to be drawing 100 of something in each sketchbook. If you're interested in seeing how I made these sketchbooks and also how I did the artwork on the inside covers and first pages, be sure to keep watching this video and cue the montage. And there you have it, the final product of creating 2 sketchbooks from scratch. I'm super happy with how this turned out, actually. It is by far not perfect, and I don't want you to think that this is any kind of a tutorial video on how to make sketchbooks. I learned a lot through my mistakes during this process because it's been many years since I have made a book. So I'm glad for my mistakes, and I am planning on making another video trying this again, and making the coolest sketchbook that I possibly can. These are just materials that I just had laying around the house. The hard backing I used in my sketchbook is literally just leftover pieces from building shelves, like the backing of shelves that you can use that is like kind of tough but also wobbly that you just nail in with 100 little teeny nails. That's what I used because I never used the backing on my shelves. So it actually worked out pretty well too. I just glued on the felt a little unevenly, but that's okay. Like I said, I learned from my mistakes. And now, while I create a little picture, the first flower in my floral sketchbook, I would like to explain a little bit more about why I decided to create my own sketchbooks instead of using the many, many sketchbooks that I have laying about the house. And that is tied to my very strong anxiety as an artist. And one reason why my art isn't nearly as good as I want it to be. And that is because I have a crippling fear. It is so crippling. Of just not living up to the idea of where I should be. And it's not good. I have done art super, super long. Ever since I was a little kid, I loved just picking up crayons and making little doodles and things. And art has always been a sanctuary for me. When life got tough, I just went back to drawing and drew my emotions out on paper, where the fears that I had in my head, I could let go and just create. And that meant a lot to me, and also being someone who is a believer, I want to use the gifts that God has given me, and I want to be productive with them. I don't want to sit on something that God has given me, and I want to use whatever gift that I have in a way that can help other people in their journey through life, because life is rough. Especially nowadays. So that's why I am deciding to kick my fear in the face and just friggin' draw and have fun with it like I used to. And hopefully my stories and ideas can maybe inspire you to. Maybe you can relate to some of the things that I'm thinking. But anyway, I have always been nervous about opening a sketchbook and ruining the value of the sketchbook by putting my art in there. Because I love sketchbooks. They're so fun, they're so beautiful, and they have such potential. And as soon as I put pen to paper, I psych myself out. And I think I make these mistakes that just completely ruin what I'm doing, which is a huge bummer, and I really don't want to think that way. But it's been keeping me from drawing as much as I want to. And I'm really tired of it. So I decided to create my own sketchbooks that are obviously imperfect. These are in no way good quality sketchbooks. Like, the paper's good because I bought the paper from a good sketchbook. But they are obviously flawed to me when I look at them, when I pick them up, when I flip through the pages. And that helps me ignore that barrier that I've always had with sketchbooks. And it lets me just be free to make the mistakes that I need to get better, So that's my thought process in making these sketchbooks. And also, I wanted to tackle the 100 challenge, the Draw 100 challenge, while I did this, so that while I'm in this comfortable, imperfect zone, I could just work on practicing whatever styles are inspiring me, whatever I want to pick up that day, whether it's just pencil, whether it's pen and ink, whether it's alcohol markers, whatever it be. I just want to explore whatever I need to get further in my art journey. So that's my goal. And if you saw my last video, you know that one of my 5 Unis Honest goals is to finish 2 sketchbooks by November 21st, 2022. So I figure, why not start it off strong and hopefully let these 2 sketchbooks be those 2 that I finish, even though I have total control over the number of pages in these. But they're pretty decent sized sketchbooks, you know, so I'm pretty content with that. But anyway, for this first drawing, I'm drawing these 2 light colored flowers. They're pretty much like off-white color. They're not very dark except for the shadows in between them. So I tried to capture that. I really have an issue with going too dark in my drawings, so I was trying to avoid that with drawing a darker background and then a light subject. And I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I've drawn some better flowers since this drawing. I've learned from a couple mistakes in here, but I'm still pretty happy with how this turned out. So, yeah, anyway, I'm curious to know if any of you listening have ever, had the same struggles that I've been having in my mind, with art and with the idea of perfectionism. And I know that perfectionism is not tangible. It's not attainable. But it is so hard to not have that control that you want to have in your life sometimes. So that's what I struggle with, because I have these awesome ideas in my head and I just want other people to see them too, and I have a hard time expressing that sometimes because my hands just can't do what I want them to. So I'm curious if anybody else struggles with that too. My hope for this YouTube channel is not only to help motivate me to keep creating art and do these challenges and ideas that I have in my head, but also to help motivate other people, because if you do struggle with the idea of perfectionism and wanting things to turn out how you picture them in your mind and being so disappointed when they don't, I just want to encourage everybody, because we're all human. We all make mistakes. We can't be perfect. So I just want to help in any way that I can, show my mistakes as well as maybe some victories if I have any. Just so that, you can see for yourself that there are other people too that are struggling with the same thing, but we can still make cool stuff. We can still, motivate others, help others in any artistic and creative way that we can think of. And we don't have to doubt ourselves, I'm just trying to quiet that voice in my mind and hopefully others too. So even now as I'm looking at this, I'm like, oh, I wish this turned out differently. I wish I could punch out some of the shadows better. But there comes a point where you see the flaws and you can just slave over them for hours and hours and hours. Or you can start again with the lessons that you've learned and create something new. So that's what I did. And I went on the next page and I made something a lot worse in my mind than this one. But I'm not going to give up. So this is number 1 of my Draw 100 Flowers sketchbook. And I will come back to you, I would say shortly, but that's not true, I'll come back to you sometime with a full sketchbook. That is a promise. And now we get to move on to the fun landscape drawing. Of the two sketchbooks, I think this drawing is by far my favorite. I don't know why I didn't think in the floral one to draw inside the cover and do a fun toned page design. You know, the rest of the pages are all going to be plain white, but I only thought of it for the landscape drawing, unfortunately, so that's what you're going to get. So for this one, I thought to do a more, fun graphic design layout for the 100 landscape sketchbook. So I wrote 100 landscapes on the side, and you'll see in a little bit that I had some fun white gel pen to the middle of the numbers too, to make them stand out a little better. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. And then I got to do a super fun waterfall drawing next to it. So while you get to see that fun chaos happening on the screen before you, I'm going to be talking about some exciting things that are happening right now. Fortnite Chapter 3 came out the other day. Woohoo! And something I've been waiting for so long, my husband can attest, is freaking Spider-Man. I am so stoked to play with Spider-Man in Fortnite, and I'll have to show you in another video, but I have like a wall in my studio room just dedicated to my Spider-Man artwork, and not my artwork, but other people's artwork and posters and things. So that's super fun. But I am so stoked, not only because of that, but also because of the next Spider-Man movie. And please don't spoil anything for me, because I have not seen any trailers. I avoid trailers now because they give away way too much of the movie, and way too much of the good jokes too. I don't like sitting in the movie theater knowing all the good jokes of the movie and then just being disappointed with the rest of the humor in the movie. So I, a long time ago, decided to stop watching movie trailers for movies that I do want to watch. So don't spoil the movie for me, please. Thank you. So, very stoked for the Spider-Man movie as well. I did see the new Resident Evil movie as well. And the thing with that, I have a gaming channel, and I've been playing through all the Resident Evil games, and that movie hurt my feelings, actually. I was quite upset. And I'm not one to get upset with movies. I am one of those people where as long as I am entertained with the story, even if it's not that great of a movie, I'll still be happy, and I'll probably watch it again, if I'm in the mood for, like a garbage movie or something like that. So I'm a sucker for garbage TV. I love the Resident Evil games because they have such great female leads, protagonist and antagonist, in my opinion. And they totally nerfed them in this movie. It just made me so sad, because one of my favorite things in Resident Evil 2 was being Claire and just loving how awesome that Claire is. She has a pretty sweet brother too. I mean, he's Chris, but Claire's pretty freaking awesome on her own, and she gets to find Sherry and take care of her, and she's just the bomb. And then there's Jill Valentine, who is also bomb, who's part of a super cop squad, and she takes on the huge tyrant nemesis all by herself. Like, she rocks. And in the movies, they're just not that great. And then there's the scientist lady, I forget her name, Sherry's mom. And she was a huge part of creating the virus, right? Spoilers if anybody hasn't, played the beginning of Resident Evil. But in the movie, she's just a stay-at-home mom, and the dad does it all. And I'm like, really? Why? It was just one of my favorite things about Resident Evil, As I've been playing more video games, I've always played video games ever since I was a little kid, but as I've been playing more, I've been really, getting to respect games that show strong female leads without it being obvious that they had to have a strong female lead. In my opinion, Horizon Zero Dawn is one of my favorite games because she is a fantastic character. She has an awesome story, but she also happens to be a woman, and she's not hypersexualized, and I appreciate that. So, anyway, rant over. Apologies. I am sorry if you're not into video games and I just rambled on about these things, but these are the things that are happening in my mind, and I have no idea what else to talk about at 10:38 p.m. on a Thursday night before this goes out tomorrow morning. Because that is where I'm at right now. So anyway, I'll talk more about the drawing. This part was my favorite because adding the white gel pen really made the waterfalls pop so much more off of that toned paper, and I really love the effect that it gave. And one of my favorite things in pen and ink is just adding texture, especially in landscape drawings. It's like my favorite things ever. You can just scribble and make a mess and it looks good. So that was my landscape sketchbook. And now I am going back to the flower sketchbook to add my name, add the date, because I forgot to do that first. And I didn't want to do anything fancy because I used all my creative juices in the first one, so I just did some cute little blocky lettering and the white gel pen trick that I did in the other page too because it was fun, and called it a day. So that's it. These are my 2 Draw 100 challenge sketchbooks. And again, as I said before, I'm really happy with how they turned out. And I'm mainly just happy because I got to make them, which is super cool. And so I get to make a mess in them however I want to. And I get to draw 100 flowers and 100 landscapes, which I'm actually really looking forward to. So here you can see the final product of many, 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 many hours of both building the sketchbook and also drawing in these. So I really hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions at all, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Again, leave a comment. Also, if you relate to anything that I was talking about throughout this video. And I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in on my videos, on my art journey. Every person who watches this video genuinely makes my day. So I hope you have a beautiful Friday, a beautiful weekend, and I hope that you get to do something creative. Find your small joy today, and I will see you next week. Bye!